Hey, folks, how are you? It's me, Marc Maron. I'm going to do a little pre-show personal plug fest, if I could. First of all, I'd like to plug my upcoming dates. Would that be a good thing? I think it would. If you live in Cleveland, I'm going to be at Hilarities on April 11th and April 12th, Friday and Saturday. If you live in Raleigh, North Carolina, or within a radius of that city, and you'd like to come see me, I'll be there Friday, April 18th and Saturday, April 19th. I'll be at the Moon Tower Comedy Festival. That is on Friday, April 25th. That's a midnight show. And apparently I'm going to be working with Andy Kindler, James Adomian, and Ian Carmel. That is a powerful evening of late night comedy, folks. Come out for that if you live in the Austin area or want to make that trip. On Sunday, May 18th, I'll be at the Wild West Comedy Festival interviewing Vince Vaughn in a one-on-one podcast. Another thing I want to give you a heads up, especially you people who are new to the show, is the WTF app. You can download the free WTF app, and if you want access to stream the entire library of, oh my God, how many episodes? 483 episodes, you can. Only the most recent 50 are available on the free app. If you upgrade to the premium app, my God, the interviews you can listen to. Let's just do a few. You music fans, Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age. Who else? Tom York is there. Jack White is there. And for you comedy fans, you got Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, Rich Lewis, Bill Hader, Simon Pegg for you comedy fans. Billy Bragg was on. John Fogerty was on. Cheech and Chong. Jonah Hill. Look, I can't go on and on, but they're all here if you upgrade to that premium app. This was a long pre-show personal plug. Hope you enjoyed it. It was almost its own monologue. Now let's get on with the show proper.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fuck nicks, what the fucksters, what the fuckadelics, what the fuckaholics, what the fuckleberry fins, what the fuck minister fullers? Yes, I am Marc Maron. This is WTF. Thank you for listening to my show. I appreciate it, and I like talking to you. I do. Today, Josh Radnor is on the show. Those of you who don't know Josh, he is the star, one of the stars of the hit television series How I Met Your Mother, and the final episode of that series is on this evening. Now, it's interesting about Josh, because I ran into Josh a week or so ago. Whenever I was just in New York for the IFC Upfronts, we were staying at the same hotel, and I walked by him, and I'm like, hey, you're that guy, Josh. He's like, hey, man, I think I know. Oh, yeah. And it all came back together. I had met Josh Radnor at a dinner at about between 9 and 10 years ago. I was still married to my second wife, and it was an event of some kind. He was with someone I knew, and he had just gotten a gig of How I Met Your Mother. He had just gotten that gig, and, I think I was pleasant to him. I remember connecting with him, and when I ran into him, I was sort of like, oh, yeah, you're that guy, and I met you, and then I saw him in Jill Soloway's movie, Afternoon Delight, which he was great in. He's also made a couple of his own movies, and tonight is the final night of the 9th season, I believe, of this series that was incredibly popular. That has, millions of viewers. I told him when I ran into him at the hotel, I said, you got to come on the show. It'd be interesting to talk to you about your experience. And he said, yeah, sure. And then literally days later, we hooked it up, and he's on today, the day of the last night of this thing that has been part of his life for 9 years. And it was an interesting conversation because I literally, look, and you're talking to a guy that's maybe seen 8 episodes of Friends, maybe 12 episodes of Seinfeld. I really have been out of the loop with weekly TV viewing of major series, and I had to confess to Josh that I think that maybe I've seen 3 or 4 of the 208 episodes of How I Met Your Mother. I mean, I understood the conceit, and I was a little nervous, and I realized, well, there's no way I can get caught up in a week and sit and watch 200 episodes of How I Met Your Mother, but I can certainly talk to this gentleman as an actor, as an artist, as somebody who's been in the business, as a kindred spirit of sorts, as a Jew, perhaps, and a lot of other things. And we ended up having this amazing conversation. It was one of these conversations that I didn't really want to end because we were hitting it off, and it got to the point where we were just talking about movies, and then we talked about spirituality, whatever. What is a grounded professional dude, Josh Radnor is. And I think that even those of you who are who are big fans of How I Met Your Mother, maybe just tuning in because of that, you might get to know Josh a little better. And for those of you who are my fans and listen to this show regularly, you might not know anything about How I Met Your Mother. I didn't either. It turned out to be an amazing conversation, and I was very appreciative that he came by. Look, I'll be honest with you, folks. The other day, I had to be at a meeting, but there were a couple of problems. The meeting was in the morning, and I was still at my house, and all the people in the meeting were in different parts of the country. But we had the meeting, and it was simple and effective thanks to GoToMeeting with HD Faces by Citrix. It's the powerfully simple way to meet in person online from anywhere, anytime. Sign up for GoToMeeting from your computer or mobile device and launch your first meeting in seconds. I just clicked the link and pushed a button to turn on my webcam, and there were the other 4 people I was meeting with, all on my screen, and all able to share documents and presentations with me. It was kind of amazing. It's amazing when I actually use this thing. It works. So you can now start your free 30-day trial of GoToMeeting today if you want. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and use the promo code WTF. That's GoToMeeting.com, promo code WTF. And it's amazing that every time I use something like this, I'm like, wow, this is so futuristic. This is fun. Now, why don't we just get together and talk every once in a while? Why don't you just put a group of people around the planet together to just bullshit? Anyways, that's GoToMeeting.com, promo code WTF. Folks, I know that I've kept you in the loop about my trials and tribulations, in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, I feel very close to you. And you know what's going on with me for the most part. But I do have to report that my struggle, and this is starting to seem like an eternal struggle, like almost a spiritual struggle with one of the gods that runs our planet. It's taking on a spiritual dimension. It's confronting, parts of myself that I'm not comfortable with. It's making me confront the existential crisis of mortality and are we alone in the world? It's making me confront my personal morality. And I think you know what struggle I'm talking about. That is my struggle with Time Warner Cable, who is my internet provider. This is a reality of modern life. I have to deal with Time Warner Cable. I have no choice. If I want access to the world, I need to deal with it. It's my portal to the world. And my portal to the world becomes compromised every night around 5 or 6 in the evening. My portal to the world is very slow. It makes me very anxious. It makes me aggravated. It causes me stress. It's probably giving me cancer. The fact that I can't access the world at a reasonable speed. Or more succinctly, the fucking speed that I pay for. It's becoming mythological. Time Warner is now becoming mythic to me because I'm not fucking sure if they're real. I know there's a lot of people involved. I know I plug something in, but I'm not sure that they know what's going on. I don't believe the lip service paid in print and on television to their concern for the speed and convenience of their services. I'm not sure that there's anyone really regulating anything over there. From what I can glean, they got into the internet business because they just absorbed another company. There's all this infrastructure laying around. I think they hope it works. But as I told you, I was taken last week to Tier 2, which I decided was on another planet. I talked to a woman on another planet with a peculiar accent that I decided was alien in the truest sense of the word, not in any sort of nationalistic or racist sense of the word. She lived on another planet. That Time Warner had subcontracted Tier 2 of its customer service to alien beings who were there as a sort of safeguard, a kind of a wall of interference between whatever it is Time Warner really is and customers. So Tier 2 lady, the alien from another planet, she was going to keep a watch on my connection for 72 hours. The female alien lady from another planet was throwing a switch that would keep a watch on my connection. So 2 days later, shit was still going down every night, 6 o'clock, garbage, no connection. I would do compulsive speed tests. I would reboot my router 2 or 3 times, occasionally get it for a little while, So then I decided, like, I better call and see if I can get through to the other planet, to the lady on another planet, to see what's going on. How is that monitoring going of my connection? So I call up, and now my attitude towards tier one, or the first wall of obstruction of customer service at Time Warner, my attitude is like, okay, you're angry. They anticipate that. Maybe you should choose a different tone, not because you expect them to help. I'm calling them knowing they can't help me, that the first wall of defense of Time Warner's incompetence cannot help me anymore. I know that. We're past that. And I know that if I tell them my phone number, push it into my phone, they will see my history of 3 technicians, compulsive calls for over 2 weeks, 20 or 30 calls, that I've done everything they've asked me to do. I've jumped through all the hoops. I've gotten a new modem, that all that stuff is right there in front of them. So I call them up with a new tone, and my tone is this. They go, "Hi, Time Warner, can I help you?" I'm like, "Yes, hi. Look, I've been calling a lot, and I just wanted you to know that your company is horrible. That Time Warner is a horrible company. They're terrible, and they're liars. I just want you to know that, and I'm comfortable with that. You know, I've accepted that, and I want you to know that." I'm saying this to a person who I know's job is to take a certain amount of shit, but I don't want to be abusive, so I just want to know. It's like, look, it's just bad. Time Warner is awful, and I'd really like to make another choice, but I don't think you can help me. He says, "I'm sorry that you're having trouble. What can I help you with?" I'm like, you actually can't help me. There's nothing you can do for me. It's not within your power to do anything for me. All right, do you see my information there? You see what's going on? There's nothing you can suggest. There's nothing that you can do for me. So let's just skip the fucking game. Can you get me to tier 2? I'd like to talk to the woman who lives on another planet. So he goes, "Well, I'll give you to advanced technical support for internet." I'm like, sure, let's go that route. Let's go advanced. So now I get to advanced, and this woman's like, "Yeah, can I help you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't think so, but I just feel like I should be calling you guys because things aren't right, and I shouldn't be paying for it, and I don't really have much options with other servers, so I don't think there's anything you can do for me. I just wanted to tell you that you work for a horrible company. Time Warner's horrible. And I know that you're on another planet probably, so this is, probably not even your concern. I don't think that human problems are your issue, but I do want you to know that the reason that they've hired you on whatever planet you live on is because you have no conscience, you have no empathy, and you think that human problems are trivial. That being said, I just wanted to report to you that I'm still having problems, after the hour 5 or 6 at night, and it's the exact same problems, and I just wanted to tell you that. And she goes, "Well, are you using, like, I've got your connection right now. Are you using a Wi-Fi router?" "Oh, okay, you're going to work it's my fault, the router angle." Yes, I do, but that isn't the problem because, I had a watch put on my connection because a woman, who's there with you in whatever structure you're in that allows you to breathe properly if you do breathe oxygen, told me that they were going to watch my connection. "Do you see that on there?" She goes, "No, I don't see any red flags or any, but you don't see that they're watching it?" "No, I don't see that, sir." So the people on your planet are pathological liars, which would make sense with your lack of empathy and concern for the human animal. But my fear is, folks, that, not unlike a spiritual search, is that I'm learning something about myself. I don't want to accept this. I believe that we should fight bad companies. I believe that apathy is not the way to handle this, that this is just the way it is. But sadly, I think that most people wear out before I wear out. And I think that most people don't call. So they're just sort of hedging their bets. And the reason they hire customer service on any planet is to sort of be a wall of sort of base, simple communication. That the people hired in customer service, especially at Time Warner, are really just there to absorb the hostility, anger, disappointment, and frustration of their customers. And what they're hoping is that people will just wear out and just tire out and accept the garbage that they provide for you as service just because that's the way it is. That's what they're hoping for. But my persistence has led me to the sad realization that really Time Warner's slogan should be, "We're here, we're all you've got, and we can't help you." Because I think at the end of the day, not unlike spiritual belief, is that it's really on you. Where are you going to hang your hope? Who are you going to be as a person in the world? How are you going to treat other people? That the bottom line is that not unlike a scientific search out into space, eventually you hit a wall of, we don't know. We don't know. Even with God, it's sort of like, what, God? What? Tell me what to do. There's no answer. For whatever reason you think there's no answer, but there's no answer. The answer is going to come from your heart. You know what? Because it's not knowable. It's not knowable. God is not necessarily knowable. It's a decision that comes from within your heart, how you're going to build that relationship. So now that I know this, I know that when you get all the way through the Time Warner customer service labyrinth, at the core of it, at the end of your search, at the end of your demand for help, they don't know. They don't know why it's not working. They just have a huge, multi-tiered, with several planets involved and satellites, a huge system that you can get lost in. And there's no one at the end that says, oh yeah, I know. They don't know. And, how you're going to behave and how you're going to act in the face of that realization, that's for you to know. Folks, when do you think is the best time to go to the post office? Probably before work, right? Probably before work, right? Or maybe after work. Or how about during lunch? Come on, let's face it. It's crowded no matter what. The truth is there's no convenient time to go to the post office. That's why you need Stamps.com. With Stamps.com, access all the services of the post office right from your desk. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package using your computer and printer. Then just hand it to your mail carrier. Yeah, it's easy. And you can hand them a whole box of stuff. And unlike the post office, Stamps.com is open 24/7 with no lines, so you can get your mailing and shipping done whenever it's convenient for you, because there's no lines at your house, are there? I used to think my garage was just a garage. No, it's where I do my work, which includes getting stamps and printing them. Use my promo code WTF for this special offer. Start a no-risk trial with a $110 bonus offer that includes a digital scale and up to $55 of free postage. Don't wait, folks. Go to Stamps.com, and before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in WTF. That's Stamps.com. Enter WTF. I think that dinner we were at, you had just gotten the role.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. I remembered meeting you, but yes, it was at a dinner, and I think that's right. I think it was.
I remember being there, and it was. I think it was. I don't know if it was a Seder, or it was Jew oriented.
Right.
But usually, with Soloway, it was a Jew oriented thing. Yeah. I don't remember what the event was, but I was there with my wife, and you were there with Jesse Klein.
Yeah.
And you had just gotten the part on How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
And I was like, so you're that guy. You weren't even like that. It's funny because you were sort of like, it's a thing.
Well, it was like, who knows? I was like my fourth pilot. I mean, none of it had worked. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long had you been out here when you got that? What year was that? That must be like
2005.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How old are you?
39.
Okay. And when did you come out here?
I started coming out here like 2001, but I would spend like pilot season out here. My girlfriend at the time was working out here, so I would come out and be with her. And then,
where were you living?
New York.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so let's track it all the way back, because I have this theory about, my friend Sam Cedar. Do you know Sam Cedar?
I don't know.
He did some television. He's a political guy now. Like I did a show with him on Air America. That there's a role in Hollywood on television that is played by the attractive Jewish man.
That's the thing? That's the slot I was in?
Yeah. I think that, the attractive, funny, smart Jewish man is around. Right. I don't know when it started.
Right.
But I think it predates, Schwimmer. I think it predates, but I always think there's a place. Like, look at movies. Even like Elliot Gould,
right.
James Caan. There has to be
there has to be that guy.
Slightly neurotic, attractive Jewish man
and
available.
And then they just surround him with wackiness.
Sure.
And watch him react.
Yeah, well, or other people that fit. I have this theory of archetypes that repeat themselves.
Yeah. I'm sure there's something to that. Yeah.
But you didn't grow up in New York?
No, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio.
What kind of childhood was that? You're Jewish?
I am.
Can we be Jewy?
Don't tell anyone.
No.
I don't want it to hurt my chances in show business.
Yeah. Okay, Josh Radnor.
Yeah.
I won't tell anybody.
That's a Welsh name.
Come on.
It is.
Really?
Radnor, sure.
Oh,
it's a thing, yeah.
So what your dad?
No, but I
said-
come from like shtetl Jews, like
Really?
full
Well,
on.
how is that? Then how'd the Welsh name
It
happen?
just is like the curveball, like the little genetic curveball from my dad's side.
Was he Jewish?
That probably wasn't. There's like a strain of non-Jew percolating through.
You got that in you, huh?
Yeah.
The non-Jew.
Yeah.
The Welsh non-Jew. So you grew up in how many sisters and brothers?
I have an older sister and a younger sister. I'm the middle boy.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's why that's probably why you're a nice guy.
I guess. I mean, there was no room in my family for like, being a terrible person. I mean, the combination of like Jewish parents and Ohio was kind of like, just calm down. Just watch it.
No room to be a terrible person.
Yeah.
You wanted that room, but you just couldn't.
I don't know. Like I tried it on, whenever I've tried on being like
a
dick, it always felt like that doesn't feel good.
Well, that's a good thing.
Right. And then other people are like, why are you being a dick?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious, but it's just kind of like, that wasn't my thing. So I was like,
Oh my God! I wish I had that kind of choice. Maybe I do. Like I did, like a dick. That was my thing for a lot of years, being a dick. But it didn't feel like a choice.
Oh, really?
No, if you're not naturally a dick.
Where'd you grow up?
Albuquerque.
Okay.
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Also, not the hot pocket of Jewry.
No, but but like I don't know what Columbus is like, but there seemed to be a crew that went out there. There was a few Wild West Jews,
some settlers,
right? But then there was a wave at some point of just, the second generation running away from their parents in New York and New Jersey.
Right. It's interesting, like, East Coast Jew is very different than Midwestern Jew, which I imagine Southwest Jew is like a whole other thing.
Well, a lot of them began as Midwest or as East Coast Jews, but then there's like San Francisco Jews. I can't even identify them. There's a type of Jew in San Francisco that I think came around during like the Gold Rush, and Levi Strauss was a Jew. So and they defined the economics of that city at some time, but they're not. We all get used to the East Coast Jew. I think we're all acting in relation to some version of the East Coast Jew.
Yeah. I mean, my idea of like Midwestern Jew is like when Jewy things get talked about at restaurants, it goes into a whisper. Like that's where it's like, we're going to synagogue. It's just there's a hush.
Is that how you grew up?
There wasn't like shame about it. It was just you weren't ostentatious about it.
Sure, because they already knew. Why push it? They're like, they know we're Jewish.
Yeah.
Let's not
rub their
ring the gong.
Yeah.
So you're kind of quiet about it. It's like, I'm going to Hebrew school. My bar mitzvah's coming up.
Well, no, I couldn't not be. I mean, I went to a Hebrew day school. Like I went to.
Really?
Yeah.
Like there was like you learned Hebrew. You had to wear a yarmulke.
Yeah, the whole bit.
Why? But were you Orthodox?
No, we weren't. But it was kind of, it's kind of like
private school,
sending your kid to Catholic school when you're not super Catholic. Kind of thing.
Did you learn Hebrew? Did you? And you did all that.
Did it all, yeah.
And your parents were into that?
I mean, they were more like active in the synagogue kind of Jews, but they weren't. We didn't keep kosher.
What'd your dad do?
He's a trial lawyer. He retired a couple years ago.
A trial lawyer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What kind of lawyer?
He was of counsel at a couple hospitals. He worked for defended doctors mostly.
Doctors from predatory lawsuits?
That's right.
From the guys like, you didn't take an x-ray and that's why I can't walk.
Exactly. Or his version was like, don't get out of bed, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson gets out of bed, breaks his hip, sues the hospital.
So he actually represented hospitals.
He did, yeah. He did a little bit of plaintiff's work, but mostly defense.
My dad was a doctor, so I understand.
Yeah, he was
the
on
fear.
He was on your side.
He was on the good team. Mm-hmm. Doctors have it tough, man, because of that. The people just come after them.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But it's also I think this was in a Malcolm Gladwell book, but it's basically like
wasn't everything.
If you have a good bedside manner, you get sued like 80% less.
Is that true?
Like they're actually suing bad personalities. In some ways, they're
like
suing
someone's got to pay.
Yeah, like they're like, you didn't make me feel safe or good, and something bad happened. But if you're kind and caring, and then something bad happens, they're like, oh, yeah, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like he did the best he could, because sadly, medicine is not an exact science.
Correct.
And I don't know why they haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks that they really don't have a lot invested in letting us all live forever.
Yeah, but I mean, you're so vulnerable if you're, I think it's just everyone's fear. Everyone goes crazy when they're sick.
Oh, yeah, yeah, because then it becomes real. Like, this doesn't go on forever.
Yeah.
That's a horrible realization.
Yeah.
Do you think about it?
Death?
Yeah.
You know,
now you are. I'm sorry.
God damn. I've never been super, like, death obsessed. And I actually find certain, like, I used to read all this Philip Roth.
I love Philip Roth.
And then, you got it? Yeah.
I got a bunch of Philip Roth.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Lena Dunham about it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I was obsessed with him in college. I just read, like, a book a week. I got on this real tear with him. And once he got into his dying phase, where it was all about, like, death and swollen prostates and stuff,
yeah.
I couldn't do it anymore.
It's hard when you start to feel the organs that are being talked about.
Yeah, it's just like, it felt so asphyxiating somehow.
You know, we spend our life trying to accommodate that knowledge somehow.
Of our demise?
Yeah. You know, either working against it, denying it, or like I don't know people who healthily embrace it. I mean, if I really think about it, it's terrifying.
I think so, but I think I think there are people who who have a really big vision of it,
or just acceptance of it.
Yeah,
like there's people that that don't feel like they have to do a lot of shit.
Well, I also feel certain Eastern concepts around like reincarnation is actually quite helpful, and I don't think it's delusional to believe that.
Right.
But I think because I actually kind of do believe that
in reincarnation.
I do.
Really?
I do. I don't know. I just feel some sort of continuum, but to get back to the thing, I don't. It's not my demise I fear. It's more like I'm suffering phobic. Like, I don't want the suffering and the pain.
Well, you don't have to as much as people used to. I mean, that's one thing they're pretty good at.
Yeah, that's
they got a handle on making the
pain meds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wait, I like this idea, though. So we got back to that. You're worried about suffering. But wait, you're not worried about the moment where it's sort of like, boom, boom. Okay, here I am. Now I'm what? The transition.
Yeah.
From life into whatever you think's going to happen.
Yeah, but I have this. I just wrote a new screenplay, and I have this.
What's it about?
It's set in Poland. It's a kind of love triangle set in Poland.
Really?
My grandmother. I was on the film festival of a jury of a film festival a couple years ago in Krakow. Have you been to Krakow?
No, I want to go to Poland. My people are from Poland.
Yeah, so I went to see the town where my grandmother was born. This little town called Pinchov, where nothing is there. I mean, it's a pub. It's a pub and two churches.
You do the work. I mean, in the way that, like, I've kind of wanted to do that. Go to Russia and track down where the problem started.
I mean, did I do the work? I knew this town existed. I went there. The visitor center was closed. I walked around the square a couple times.
But you were there for something else.
I was there. I was on the jury of a film festival for about 10 days.
A Krakow film festival.
It was called Off Center. It was off camera.
Then they came to you.
Yeah.
They're like,
so then I said,
because you've done two films. You did what? Liberal Arts
and Happy Thank You More Please was my first one.
Yeah, and but when you did Happy Thank You More, was that while you were doing How I Met Your Mother?
Both
before?
of them I did.
Still,
before.
so you kind of fit it in.
Like fourth season, I did Liberal Arts. Sixth season, kind of in between, in the summers between.
So this is the dream.
To be doing it all.
Yeah,
I get. Yeah,
doing it all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
All right, so I've never been to Poland. Tell me about Poland.
Poland, it was kind of like gray. I was shocked how many How I Met Your Mother fans were there. That was weird.
It's an international phenomenon.
Yeah. But I found it to be. It was like, I've never been to Prague, but it reminded me of pictures I've seen of Prague.
Right,
and it kind of felt like an under-filmed city.
Uh-huh.
I was like, the movie should shoot here.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that they were actually kind of dangling, for the winners, they would say like, oh, if you shoot in Krakow, you get another $150,000 towards your film. So I thought, well, they're trying to make films there. And I had a story that I thought maybe could be set there. So, but I have this character who says, there's this old theater director, who's well past his prime, and he says, something like, maybe we have this wrong, like maybe birth is this terrible thing that we should mourn,
right?
That a lifetime of hardship ahead of you, and then death is this kind of release, like this glorious release.
Right. You've paid your dues. Now you get to relax.
Or that there might be like that there's nothing to fear. Like maybe we just have it wrong, and our egos are such that we're so cling to the material and this thing we know and can see and measure.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just think there's a lot more going on.
Well, I think I can sometimes in my worst moments and my more cynical moments believe that it doesn't seem obviously fair, but it just seems like kind of a jip to finally get a handle on something, in the last quarter.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
It's like, I understand it and I can't pee.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Why?
I get it. I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
Now I can't go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now, how do you frame, what your life is? What do you do spiritually? Did you do the Jewish thing? Were you ever heavy into the Jewish thing? Did you do the Israel thing?
It was kind of, what I came from.
But as
an adult, kind of.
Well, as a middle class Jew who was brought up in that, I know you culturally identify, but did the religion serve you spiritually?
No. I think.
Yeah.
I think not. Although, I went to Israel for 9 weeks when I was in between my first and second year at NYU, and I just kicked around. And I ended up, you go to Israel, you have nothing to do. The next thing you know, you're like with a bunch of Orthodox people because they like really want you to hang out with them.
The Chabad people?
So, they're like, come to my house for Shabbos. Yeah. So I ended up learning a lot, and I was actually quite moved by some of the Judaism that I saw there felt a little more alive to me. And I came back, and I actually went into a kind of crisis about whether I wanted to be an actor or not, because it felt a little narcissistic. And
this was after college.
This was in my second year of grad school.
Oh, really?
So to find yourself in the middle of like this intense training program, be questioning whether you want to be an actor or not was not. It was not my favorite stretch of time.
Right.
But then I got out of school. I found my way back, and I got out, and I realized.
Well, how long was that period? I mean, what
it was a couple months.
But I mean, what were the options? Like, I should be doing service?
Like, do I do nonprofit something? Do I, give back entirely? That's what I do. But then when I got out of school, it was more about I found my way back to a different way of relating to both self and the world, because I thought if I don't do something, I'm going to go crazy. Which was the negative voices in my head were so strong that I knew they would take me out.
What were they saying?
Like, you can't do this, or you don't look right, or she thinks
so
you're
insecurity.
It's just insecurity, garden variety,
right.
Junior high stuff carried onward, and it blown up.
It's happening now with me.
I'm not thinking any of those things I'm thinking.
No, I know. Okay, good. Thank you.
And then I started meditating, and once I started meditating, I just got a different relationship to my thoughts, kind of.
What kind of meditation?
I started doing like TM, like a mantra meditation.
So you'd meditate every day?
I do.
And in the morning?
Yeah, in the morning, and I try to get a second one in. But
for how long?
20 minutes about. 20 minutes to a half hour.
And okay, so walk me through it. You sit comfortably. You start breathing. And a thought comes.
I mean, about 30. You pick up the mantra, right? And then
you can't share.
I can't share.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it could be anything. It could be like,
I'll just whisper it into
I'm fucking doing this.
That's a bad mantra.
It is?
Yeah, don't do that one.
What's a mantra? What is it?
I mean, it's an onomatopoetic sound, so it doesn't even mean anything. It's
okay.
It just triggers your mind to calm down.
And you go over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to effortlessly think it, which is actually a very weird thing. Like, how do you effortlessly think? Don't you need a tiny bit of effort to even think something? Like,
well, you can't.
How do you?
Well, you can kill anything with your brain.
Well, yeah, but how do you? But essentially, thoughts come and they're not bad. They're just it's unstressing. It's just your mind throwing off thoughts and you just let them go. And when you realize you're off your mantra, you come back to it. It's really simple. It's nice. It's easy.
And how do you feel when you're done?
Sometimes you feel great and you feel like you really went up places. Other times you were just overrun with thoughts and you don't feel particularly great.
It didn't work.
Not that it didn't work, it's just, you just had a heavy dose of unstressing. You know what I'm saying? Like, just. Yeah.
So, and how has this, changed your life, really?
I mean, I just made it like a non-negotiable part of my life.
But in the day-to-day, what tool does it give you?
I think, I think it gives you a different relationship to your thoughts. So if you're in a process where you're quiet during the day, and we're not in a time where we're encouraged to be quiet on any level.
Yeah.
I mean, we're bombarded with stimulus.
Well, you feel like you have to. We're just being dragged by demand.
And the promise of technology was a false one, which is you'll have nothing but free time.
No one has
the
any. Opposite. Now we're completely
bound by
tethered to it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it gives you a time to just be quiet and be detached from that stuff, and also when a thought comes by, rather than it being good or bad or it's just like, oh, look at that.
So the God thing's not important?
It is important.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't talk to a lot of people about God because it's so provocative and it's so. I had breakfast with Tim Minchin yesterday, who you should meet. Do you know that guy?
I've met him before. It's not pleasant, but maybe I'll meet him again.
You should talk to him maybe, but he's a kind of hardcore materialist. Rational.
He's a musical
science.
act, right?
Yeah, and he's very smart.
Yeah.
But it was, we got into it, and it was like, I'd like to be friends with this guy, but not have this conversation.
Right.
Because
it's like, you seem like a smart person. How can you hang your hopes on bullshit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also, what I said to him was, look, I was raised by a rational materialist father and a rational materialist my whole education. Like, I understand the scientific method. I understand science. I understand your arguments. But I also have tasted and danced in this other realm, which feels quite wonderful to me, and that if I'm only with that, I'm playing with half a deck, right? And
interesting.
I said, you have only danced in this realm and deny the existence of this
Fight
other
the other
thing.
one.
I mean, you fight it with
Yeah.
everything you, and so I at least know what I'm on some level rejecting, but not even entirely rejecting.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, there's a lot of, I think the word God is so, it's been so sullied. I mean, what bad press.
For me, like, I don't, my belief with others is that, if you have a solid, sense of faith that's based in God consciousness.
Right.
And it enables you to have hope and be a moral person and process things and diminish some of the existential terror that is so readily available.
Right.
Good for you.
Yeah.
God bless.
I talked to my friend about it last night, and he said people who are very kind of anti-God and even the concept, it's almost like they haven't sat with death on some level, because when people are dying, they call out to God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, on some level,
they want it to mean something.
Yeah, but there seems to be some primal programming within us
Right.
that has some dim memory of something
bigger,
larger than
sure.
our
I recommend reading The Denial of Death to everybody that comes on this show.
I don't know that book.
Well, it's a very important book. It changed my life. And I've talked about it many times here.
Yeah.
Ernest Becker, The Denial of Death, which is fundamentally about, the almost, primal need for human consciousness to feel connected to something larger in order to define itself.
Right.
And find comfort, in the face of existential terror of mortality.
But I feel that in some ways we have to choose our stories. Like, for instance, I could choose the story that I was like horrible and never going to work and everyone hated me, or I could choose a different story, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I could also choose a story where I'm just like a bag of neurons and molecules that's an evolutionary accident.
Yeah, but you can be both.
But I think so. I mean, I think, like, look, this body's going away.
Look, if you got to believe in poetry, you got to believe in magic. And the weird thing is that not magic, but you see, the thing is like, not everything is rational, and not everything can be explained. I mean, you can explain it by probability, by, coincidences can be deconstructed mathematically. Right. But the truth is, if you don't allow some room for something poetic, for something magic, for something surprising, without the need to explain it.
Or explain it away.
You do a great disservice to your heart.
I 100% agree with that.
And I believe that. It's like, I'm wary to say I believe in God because I have not identified it. But I am completely willing to have faith and think the best of people, despite what people think of me. And I'm completely willing to look around me and go like, this is really fucking amazing. And you can't explain it.
Yeah.
And if I really think about it, I get overwhelmed. You stand in front of a mountain and, yeah, sure, I know there's geological realities, there's weather realities, there's agricultural realities, there's there's a lot of things happening, but the majesty of it I choose to appreciate and not explain, so I can feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
Like I would argue that rationalists, there's a fine line between that and just control freakness.
Yeah, I kind of feel, why argue with those people?
Well, why argue? And also, like, like, I don't identify as an atheist, but I have a hard time with mythologies. Like, I have a hard time with naming God. I have a hard time with, like, saying I believe in God. But I certainly have faith in something, and I certainly don't seek to explain it away.
Right. I mean, but that to me is like it's kind of standing in the space of mystery and possibility.
Well, people get mad at that too. Come on.
You got to decide
one
why.
thing or the other. I don't have to do anything for anybody.
I know.
It's like I don't want to go through the exercise of having you go, see, I won. You can't answer it.
Yeah, and then also, like, your victory means what? Like for you, like, okay, great. I now believe I'm a bag of bones.
Yeah.
Like,
I do a bit about that, I did it on my special just about how it's really about winning. There's no solution.
Right.
If you're going to talk someone out of their God, you better put something else in its place other than this rudimentary idea that everything being explained by math equations.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do you know David Eagleman, the neuroscientist? He says that science knows like 5 to 10% of what there is to know. Like literally, there's like 90 to 95%. Yeah. They have no idea. Yeah. And matter itself, there's only 4% of the universe's material.
Yeah.
So there's 96% that's dark matter. We don't know what it is. It's not nothing. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So he says science can't declare atheism. It can't declare belief. And he calls himself a possibilian. Yeah. Which is really cool. He said, that's what, and all these people are like, I believe in possibilianism.
Yeah. So where does the reincarnation thing play in that you mentioned?
I don't know. It's just like some weird.
It's weird though. Here's what I really believe though.
Yeah.
Is that like, who knows if that is going to be true or it's not going to be true?
Yeah.
All right. First of all.
Yeah.
And if you want to entertain that and it makes you feel hope or good or curious or it's provocative to you, it's like that's your right. And why not? There's no you could keep it to yourself. You could share it with other people.
Yeah.
You're probably better if you keep it to yourself. But the truth of the matter is, hanging your hope on something, is a personal activity.
You have to get to a certain point in your life where you have the time and space and resources to even chew on these questions.
Sure.
Like if you don't have a place to live, and you don't know where your food's coming from, like you're not gonna.
Unless you actually don't have those things because you've chewed on these questions.
Right. You're that guy.
Yeah.
Meditating.
Working it out.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back before we talk about, the show you've been doing for half your life that I quite honestly know not enough about.
That's cool.
Notice it's not cool. I should do research, but how am I going to research? I'm going to sit down and watch 9 seasons?
Yeah. Don't do that.
But the last show's on tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there something you can spoil for everybody?
Well, it's a 2-parter, and
it is.
Yeah, it's an hour long.
Oh, but it's all going to happen tonight.
Yeah.
Are people going to get closure?
I think that's something that they'll get.
Yeah, it's all going to pay off.
I mean, look, there's a lot of kind of dangling threads of the show, and they almost hit all of them. They get everything.
Well, what was the plan of the show initially? Like, you couldn't have imagined. I mean, I guess this is the best of all worlds. It's even better than the best. I mean, how many did you do? 200?
208.
So like, it's going to be in syndication for the rest of your life. You're going to be making money while you're sleeping for the next 20 years. And did you have any real, I guess that's the hope when you get a role on a sitcom, but this has been a defining thing. But you know what is interesting, and I got to give you credit, is that, I saw Holloway's movie, Afternoon Delight, which I liked a lot, and I had her and Catherine Hahn in here, and you did a great job in that.
Thank you.
And the thing that you did a great job at, which is just of no power of your own, just by virtue of the fact that you're a good actor, is that, and also by the fact that I'm not obsessively watching the other show, is that I didn't associate you with anything.
Oh, that's good.
It is good.
Yeah.
Because that's a tricky thing, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's different phases of an actor's life. I mean, the first phase is no one knows who I am and no one wants to hire me. And then if you're lucky, you get a part that becomes like that's what people know you for. And then you have another problem, which is trying to get out from under that. Exactly.
Well, that's a TV actor specifically.
TV for sure.
Yeah, and a hit TV show specifically.
Exactly.
Like there's certain people that have made the jump. But I don't want to lose my train of thought. So when you were in high school, was this where you were going?
No, I was just like a stage obsessed. I was theater obsessed.
Because I'm noticing on the levels here, you were one of the rare people that projects perfectly, because you're not even on top of that mic, and the levels are great, and I commend you for that and your ability to detach from your TV part. I'm just blowing smoke up your ass left and right to make up for the fact that I've watched 3 episodes of your
on
your
airplanes
show.
When you had no choice. I get it.
But am I the target audience?
I don't know. I'll tell you, there's no such thing as a target audience at this point. I have met people. I have. People, it cuts across everything now. It's not, you think like, it's like urban 20-somethings love the show. College kids love the show. It's not. It's a lot of people.
Well, because the ensemble's so fucking good. I mean, when it comes right down to, the success of sitcoms, I mean, whatever the context is, it's
just,
how
do you want to spend time with these people?
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And they're great people. I mean, Jason's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's great.
Yeah. I mean, we really hit a lot of shows where you have that kind of ensemble, when they don't work, it looks like, oh, they got cast.
Yeah.
Like, it literally looks like just a bunch of actors that got the parts.
That's why things don't make it past that pilot.
Exactly. And for whatever reason, we felt like a bunch of people would sit around and drink beer all day together.
And did that last?
We never lost the feeling of that we really felt like we were friends sitting around. Like I always describe it more like family than friends, in that we didn't pick each other.
Right.
And we saw each other on our best days and our worst days and all that.
Right.
And we didn't, after the first season, we weren't really hanging out and having dinner. That's what everyone wants to believe. We had lives. Like, we had, people had kids and projects, but when we were there, it was always super easy and felt organic in a really cool way.
That is an interesting thing about that, though. Like, even when I've done radio or something where you spend 4 hours a day with this guy who's your guy, you're talking on the air and you're working. Like, sometimes when you get done with that, you're like, what are you going to hang out more?
Like, you don't want to bring the office home with you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then people assume, like, you guys all must be. No, I can't.
I know.
I mean, I'm sure you have everyone's phone number.
I got him. Yeah, I can text him right now. I don't care. I'll text him right now.
He's like, Jason, what's up, man? But okay, so the plan was stage.
Yeah, but it was also like, when I fell hard for acting, I got really scared because no one from my family was an actor, no one from my community was an actor. She was an elementary school teacher, and then she was a mom, and she was a guidance counselor.
I'll tell you, man, so many people who are creative people have parents who are teachers. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that says, but they must have been, reluctantly supportive.
They were cautiously supportive. My dad only realized...
better word, cautiously.
Yeah. He revealed to me years later how terrified he was, but he held it. He hid it, which was really good for me.
Because he wanted you to be happy and be able to pursue it.
I was also very judicious and kind of smart about how I revealed information and when. So I would...
What does that mean?
So like, they didn't want me to go...
You've got it all figured out. You've got mortality figured out?
No, I have not got it all figured out, please. They did not want me to go get like a BFA, like go to Juilliard or something. They wanted me to get a liberal arts certificate. That was the requirement.
Right.
So they also wanted me to not major in drama, but I ended up just spending most of the time in the theater department. I mean, I took all kinds of classes, but I ended up declaring a drama major, which they were okay with because it was kind of more academic. But then every summer I would go to do theater, on the East Coast, or every summer I was actually doing it. So
like stock? Summer stock?
Yeah, like non-equity companies.
But you were castable pretty early on. You got a handle on it.
I don't know that I was castable as much as I just was really enthusiastic and found the places I wanted to go.
And what plays did you do in high school? I always like trying to picture the plays that people do.
The first play I did was Oklahoma.
Of course.
Yeah. The second play I did was Cabaret. I played the MC in Cabaret, which was kind of a watershed moment for me. That's where people started going, you could maybe do this.
And you were singing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you can sing.
When asked. I don't do it like, I don't just do it all the time. It's more like, we need you to sing right now.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of...
But the high school experience for a lot of people who act as musicals, so that's what you do.
It's also the most fun thing. I mean, my community is pretty homogenous,
Yeah.
And, socioeconomic and everything. And I started working at this children's theater that every summer would do musicals with like 16 to 21-year-olds, but it was from all over Central Ohio. It was kind of like the best people would go for the summer. So I did like Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Jesus Christ Superstar, Into the Woods.
Were you Jesus?
I was Pontius Pilate. I had to kill Jesus. Come on.
Jew.
Exactly.
Let the Jew kill Jesus.
Exactly. Don't think I didn't notice.
Yeah, who directed that show?
Yeah, and then I just found, like, I felt at home there. I felt at home among the difference, like the combustible weirdness of everyone being there, but we just were drunk on the theater together. It's
a pretty amazing thing, because even last night and I notice this a lot now that, like, I'm 50 or whatever, but, like, I was waiting to go on stage at the Redondo Performance Arts Center just for Adam Carolla's podcast. There's like half a house, but, there's it's a big theater. Someone built it sometime, and then you had the big flats, and I'm just behind the curtain, wandering around, waiting to go on, and you have that moment. You're like, this is my life.
Yeah,
I'm in show business.
Oh yeah, it has not ever dimmed for me, that feeling.
It's
like
cool.
when you go like you go see a friend like in a Broadway play,
right?
And you kind of like get to peek out on the stage in the empty house.
Yeah,
it still feels really holy to me.
It
Like
is.
it really, especially in empty theater. There's something in liberal arts. There's a scene in an empty theater that I used to perform in because we shot it at Kenyon. And to me, I don't know, there was something so magical about being able to go in there.
Well, the weird thing is that once you have some chops and you've been in the life for a while, you don't always think of it that way because you're sort of like, well, I'm going out and I'm going to do my thing.
Right.
But then, like, when you really step back from it and realize what you've committed your life to, and you can't quite identify, the difference, what happens between behind stage and on stage and the magic that you enter, the space. For me, I guess I'm just projecting, but like sometimes I'm just fascinated when I'm on stage with somebody else and I'm watching them talk and there's an audience of hundreds there and there's just a person talking, but it's magic.
Yeah, I also, I do this thing where I try to, when things happen to you, I think in show business and we metabolize them very quickly. You're like,
right,
so something that you couldn't imagine happening, suddenly that's your life.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, you process it very quickly. And I always try to remember, the 16-year-old me.
Yeah.
Like how psyched he would be.
Or terrified.
Or terrified. Yeah. But he would be pretty psyched. Like, and I think I exceeded his kind of dreams on some level, which is, I don't know if they were dreams,
sure.
but like, that's a pretty cool thing. And also, I also think about the fact that a 16-year-old boy in Ohio decided what I was going to do for my life. Because not a lot of people, that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
That was fortuitous.
I never thought of it that way. Because like I always felt like I want to do comedy. I had no idea how that happens. Because like at least when you want theater, when you're 16, you're like, well, I can go do a little of that. I get a feel for that. Like I had this weird thing that like I don't know how anyone does that.
When did you start doing it?
In college, I tried it a couple times in college. At events, at college shows. But it wasn't until after I really maybe my third or fourth year of college where I actually went into a comedy club. But I was. There was no joy in it. I was just paralyzed with terror all the time.
Did they must have gone well enough for you to want to do more.
Well, I think it's a compulsion. I think the beauty about acting is that you can enter this zone and enter a character and be supported by, a cast and a lighting person and there's a community behind it.
Right.
With comedy, it's sort of like you're this lone wolf.
It is the starkest, scariest kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, you're not sure, you need to get laughs.
Yeah.
But, you've got your 3 jokes when you're starting. You got 5 minutes, and all you do all week is worry about when you're going to go up there with your shit.
Yeah.
So it was more of a sickness than a
But the victory is purely yours, and the failure is purely yours.
That's exactly right.
What I mean?
And to have that stage, to be on that stage, I think about that a lot too as a performer. Is sort of like you kind of earn your territory, on stage. Like, how am I going to own this thing?
Right.
And it's really up to you as a comic. It's sort of like you push, you pull, and eventually you fit.
Yeah.
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 So, all right. So in high school, you do musicals.
Yeah.
When was the first, how ridiculous was the first serious role?
Oh, I went to Kenyon, and my first play was about a schizophrenic poetess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you the doctor? Or something?
I was her boyfriend. Like it was. I think it was called "Standing on My Knees" or something.
Is it like
I don't even remember, but it was. It was like suddenly I was, and it was in like the lower cafeteria. You know what I mean? Like where they put theater wherever they can find it. Like,
it wasn't the drama school. It was the stage troupe or whatever.
Yeah, it was like a offshoot, like one of the little. They had like 8 drama clubs at Kenyon, so it was like.
But that's just a liberal arts college, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's footage of me actually doing, what was that play, that horrible play, was it called Extremities, where the guy locks that woman in a...
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's footage of me doing that at like 19 or 20.
When you fully understood what was going on.
Just intense and angry and off base. And I did it for someone was in a TV production class, so they wanted to shoot it.
Right.
So it wasn't even a play.
So it's preserved.
Yeah.
So you can watch it all the time.
Yeah, I don't know who has a copy.
I always love, like, in college and grad school, how you got to play, like, old guys.
I know you do.
But I did Awake and Sing, the Clifford Odets play. I played, like, the communist grandfather in that play my third year
How was
at
the
NYU.
makeup? How was the makeup?
It was pretty good, but I looked like that actor Armin Mueller-Stahl. Do you remember that guy from Shine?
Oh, yeah.
With the mustache.
Yeah.
And for some, I really think it was maybe one of the best things I've ever done, because I didn't know any better. Like, I didn't know this is ridiculous. I'm 24. Why am I playing this 70-year-old communist from wherever he was from?
Yeah.
But there's something that you throw yourself into those things, and you actually have moments of magic because you don't know any better.
Yeah.
And when you get out into show business, they're like, no, you look like this, and you'll be playing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's very like narrow. What they expect you to do.
So what did you? So you got a drama undergrad degree?
I did. I got a BA, and then I went to NYU.
But what was your minor? Was it English or?
Well, I was going to be an English major, but I was going to double major, but at Kenyon you had to do compulsory exams, you had to either do a huge kind of thesis or, and the drama comps were actually kind of hard. You had to do a production and an oral defense of it and a big test at the end of the year.
What do you mean a production? You had to direct it?
I did this Donald Margulies play called Sight Unseen. And then you have to have an oral defense with the professors where they kind of pick it apart.
Really?
Yeah.
What? But I thought that's only happening graduate level.
It's a thing at Kenyon. You have to. Every major has compulsory exams. I'm pretty sure they still do.
So would they just grill you?
Yeah.
Really?
Basically.
Like what kind? Like so you do? So you just acted in that play?
Yeah.
And what are they like? Why'd you make that choice?
Kind of. But the play was nonlinear. It was told all, and they were asking all sorts of questions. I ultimately realized they were asking playwriting questions that I couldn't answer. And I think it was fine. Everything was fine.
So okay, so you graduate, you do good undergrad.
I did. I did.
You felt confident as an actor.
I mean, I did. I actually had logged a lot of hours on stage.
Now, were you doing all the other stuff too, or
yeah, everything?
Like, did you build sets?
I did that when I apprenticed at like theaters. Where you have to hang lights and do concessions in addition
summer
to
stock.
Yeah.
That's because that's part of the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of it's an interesting little community. It's kind of sad when things end. I guess it's the same with a TV show.
Yeah, and I'm prone to nostalgia, so it's never good. Oh, yeah.
Really? What are you nostalgic about? The pre-successful you?
What am I nostalgic about? I mean, I can I can work myself up into a nostalgic kind of lather about anything.
Really?
Even and it just has to do with time itself passing.
Right, but is it in the form of things were better then, or is it in the form of remember when we used to?
Just that it's over and it will never be again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know. I try to stay out of it, even though I surround myself with all the garbage of my entire life.
Right.
I have books from college. I have photographs of my first girlfriend there. My second wife. It's ridiculous because some people be like, "Well, are you hanging on to that?" No, but those big periods of your life.
I know, and I do question how much I should be steeped in that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't think about it all the time, but in some days I think why not get rid of all of it? Mm-hmm. Because if it's in your heart, it's in your heart. You don't have to have triggers. Is there something comforting? Is this some indication that I've lived, I've collected all this shit? What do you surround yourself with that you think you should get rid of?
I mean, my house isn't in, it's not like this dump. No, I'm kidding.
I know. No, I'm a little bit of a stacker.
Yeah, I mean, you have.
I'm not a hoarder, I'm a stacker.
Yeah, I have, the posters and the things and
from
it was kind of about the set, everyone keeps asking. It's like these journalists or these reporters, what are you going to take from the set, is a big thing, which I didn't even realize we were supposed to take anything, but I did end up taking one.
What did you take?
I took this iconic prop for my character, is this blue French horn, which is something he steals for this girl in the very first episode, and it kind of recurs throughout. So Carter and Craig, the creators of the show, gave it to me.
Oh.
And that's something very sweet to have.
Yeah.
But
were you guys were you tearing up on that last episode? Or
it was like a 2 week.
How many times have you been asked that question?
It was a 2 week kind of thing. I got really teary. Everyone did at the table read. The final table read was pretty emotional.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of.
And then the last moment, it was Siegel had his last day, and it was the scene where the five of us were going to be together for the last time. Mm-hmm. That was pretty emotional.
Were people kind of crying?
Yeah. I mean, Allison Hannigan, they actually wrote her character into the whole episode crying because they knew she was just going to cry no matter what. So why don't we just have her character crying? And she was actually happy about that. She's really smart move.
They know her.
Yeah. It's, but then I had a lot of emotions I found myself actually really, the last day I was really sensitive and angry about things, and I was like, wow, I'm just a mess right now. I sometimes I don't.
You weren't able to feel.
Yeah, and then I started to feel things a few days after. So you'd have a delayed response.
Yeah, well, it's weird when you really find out that when some sort of kind of an entire shift in your life. You know, something you've been committed to for so long is really going away. It's like a mourning process.
And very few people, especially actors, have that stark a demarcation line. I mean, 9 years is like a long. Who does anything for 9 years anymore? Like anyway, you know, in any profession. Like,
I just can't believe that. Like, it's weird because like when I met you that time, I automatically feel a connection to people in general, and that like I knew you were hanging out with Jessie, I knew her, and we're Jewish, and so I had something invested in whatever moment we like.
Right.
But initially it was probably like, no, that guy just got out here and he's got a show already. So you
I hadn't been out. I've been out here longer than you thought I had.
But you're a very nice guy, and because of that, like now the second time we even talk, it's like on the other side of this. It's 9 years later.
I know, it's weird, and that's also scary because of the. Like, I don't know if this, I don't even think this is going to be very stupid what I'm saying, but like, time is moving fast, like, and it seems to be just really moving fast in a way that is alarming. A lot of that's what liberal arts is about, because I went back to Kenyon to show my first movie, and suddenly everyone was calling me Mr. Radnor.
Oh, yeah.
And I was I was just drinking out of that keg there. How are you? And I realized I was nearly twice as old as like the freshman there. And that really freaked me out. So
because there's part of it, especially you're not married.
No.
And well, I mean, it's weird because I'm the same way. I'm not married. I don't have kids. And I think that something gets tempered.
Yes.
About your acknowledgement of age.
Yes.
When you have those kind of responsibilities. When you don't, there's part of you that's sort of like, hey, I know these kids. This is me.
Yeah.
Right.
And the central thing, Richard Jenkins in liberal arts, he tells me since he was 19, he's never felt not 19.
Right.
Like but his face in the mirror, he can't believe that it's not a 19-year-old face.
Yeah.
And then the line in that scene that he says at the end is, nobody feels like an adult. That's the world's dirty secret.
That's your dialogue.
Yeah.
You're a big thinker, man.
It's reflected. I don't, it's just.
You don't like when you're writing, I don't know what your process is, but with the first film, was that lighter than liberal arts?
They're both kind of a mix of, funny, sad.
But do you find that you're working out, like, because you seem to be weighing the bigger questions, and you seem to have a dialogue around a lot of them.
Yes.
But do you learn more about that dialogue through your characters, or do you
100%. I mean, I write, I'll get a big, so for liberal arts, for instance, I said, okay, 35-year-old guy, doesn't have a lot going on.
Right.
Goes back to his college that he loves for his favorite professor's retirement dinner.
Right.
Meets and falls for a 19-year-old sophomore.
Right.
Like, that's what I had just as the bones.
Which is like, in and of itself, like, as a story, it's completely relatable and
it felt like there was a lot to it. But as I started writing, it became about time, nostalgia, aging, books, why we read, what the purpose is of an education, how liberal arts education can both serve you and also get in your way on some level.
Well, what did you learn about that? How does it serve you? Because I know how it served me.
I mean, I think it serves, critical thinking, empathy, stepping into
opening your
shoes.
mind.
Yeah.
Empathy, interesting.
There's a James Baldwin quote I just saw that was so amazing about the loneliness he feels in the world corresponds. It goes down essentially the more books he reads. So the more connection he can make with other people are feeling these things too.
Right.
It makes you feel less alone in the world. He
Sure.
said it much more beautifully than I just did.
Well, I think that's important about conversation in general.
Yeah.
And not just books, but I imagine if you were stranded, that, reading books would, so you're saying it grows your capacity for emotional understanding.
Certainly. And it exposes you obviously to other cultures and other perspectives and all these things. And it exposes you to other people who are, chewing on these big ideas all at the same time at a very sensitive time. I mean, that college age time is
if you take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I do a lot of college speaking, and I actually love doing it because I find that those.
You seem like a teacher.
I've come from teachers, but they're kids who are like really open, and I think that even today, like the college kids in my unscientific sampling of them seem less cynical. They seem like really open to stuff. I think
kids seem less cynical in general.
Yeah.
I think that when I grew up, you're what, 30, what'd you say?
39.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're 10 years younger than me, but when I grew up, there was still this weird crashing wave of the 60s.
Yep.
And there was a type of, you were aspiring to, your role models were different. A lot of them were grittier and I just think in general that kids are a little more detached from, I think culturally everything's changed. I think they know a lot more.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure the internet has something to do with that.
Sure.
In the same way it's like the Baldwin thing, like actually seeing, if you're a lonely kid living in wherever, and you feel like you can actually find a community online that are a bunch of little yous.
And we're going to assume that's good.
Sometimes it could not be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea, man.
It's still the Wild West.
It really is in terms of what these generations are going to. They're all going to adapt. I mean, that's the other thing, that once you get to a certain age and you find yourself saying things like, when I was younger, it's like that's been said every generation. And obviously things are a lot different now. Yeah. But people are still people. They're still contained in this vessel. They're only capable of one thing, and adapting is one of them.
Yeah.
But the nuts and bolts of emotions are going to be what they're going to be, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things in liberal arts is, she says, she basically feels like he's patronizing her, like when I feel different now than I felt when I was here. And she's like, but every stage is hard.
Yeah.
But he says, but I felt things when I was here that I no longer feel, and you don't know. Like, for instance, I always think about How I Met Your Mother was on 9 years. That's high school plus college plus 1 year.
Yeah.
Like that, imagine how different you were your freshman year of high school to your first year out of college.
Well, you were 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like do you feel that you were able to sort of mature through that, or do you think that you were some sort of suspended in a way?
It's both, honestly. I mean, I feel I had massive changes go on, but I also look at my life and it's not that much. I mean, I'm still kicking around. I'm still like...
No, you seem very, very similar to the 3 minutes that I talked to you last time.
Yeah. Well, I've worked at that. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's important in show business. You kind of got to, like, choose your heroes wisely.
Who are yours?
Just like nice, awesome people that I've met along the way that you kind of collect and say, you work. We had a ton of great older actors come through How I Met Your Mother, and I thought, oh, this person's great.
Did you develop relationships with them?
Yeah, I've hung on to, Bryan Cranston was on pre-Breaking Bad, John Lithgow, Franny Conroy, Martin Short, like just awesome people.
And you're friends with them?
I'm having dinner with Martin Short tonight. Actually,
That must be entertaining.
We've never done it, but we'll
really?
See. Yeah. I'll let you know.
Why now?
Because we'd been trying to do it. You know, I ran it. We did the thing, and then I ran into him after we saw Pippin. And I saw him backstage, and we just struck up this funny conversation and decided to have dinner.
Isn't that interesting? Like just coming from that. Like obviously, you were on this hit show, but to come from where you were when I met you, and then there's that moment where you're like, can I hang out with Martin?
Yeah, I still have it a little bit. I'm like excited, but I'm also like, how many Three Amigos questions am I allowed?
Right. And what are we going to talk about?
Can we talk about Inner Space? Remember that movie? Yeah. Where he went in the Dennis Quaid in his body.
Yeah. But he's got great stories, and he's a very funny guy.
It's weird also to be working alongside people that you grew up watching.
I know.
That always.
I mean, I don't know. I know from talking to them, but yeah. But it must be a trip.
Yeah, and it's great because it also is a great leveler. You know, you feel like we have a common thing. Like we're doing the same thing. Like when I think John Lithgow is like a totally great talent and the nicest guy in the world. And I watch him, and I'm like, he does it better than I do, but I do the same thing he does. We're in the same biz.
Yeah, it's a profession.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing moment to reach a level of professionalism and also career where you accept that and you realize that.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both art and craft.
Yeah.
Like it's like watching a carpenter or something. Like you're like, they look at what they do, but they do it extra special or something.
Sure.
And I'm always stealing from people. You're always watching people so you can steal stuff from them.
Like what, technique or what? Like if you're watching Lithgow, what did you learn from him?
Well, I did a series that didn't go anywhere with Sally Field.
Before,
yeah. It was called The Court, about the Supreme Court. I was one of her clerks, and I was just shocked at how little it looked like she was doing. And then you'd watch it back and you'd see how much she was doing, and it was I had come from the theater, so I was all like,
big.
Get it to the back of the house, and I found that there was something about the minimalism of it. Oh, and this is weird, and maybe I should bring this up tonight, but I think this was a Martin Short quote that I've always thought about, where he said, people say in the theater, you be as big as you can, and on screen, you be as small as you can. He said it's actually the reverse. In the theater, you try to be as small and subtle as you can, but still have it read to the back row. And in film, you want to be as expressive as you can without being too big for the frame.
Tricky.
It's tricky, really tricky, and I still feel like I'm refining it all the time.
Well, I found that too. Like I worked with. It's like it's weird. I'm talking to you, and I've completely dismissed the fact that I've done 2 seasons of my own show. I'm like, this guy's an actor. Like, but I'm not. Like I was not a trained actor. But like even working with Sally Kellerman, who played my mother.
Yeah.
You know, like we'd go over these takes, and when you're in it, you have after a few takes, you have no idea what you have. And
right.
You can't tell what makes people great. And then when you watch it back, you're like,
right.
oh my God.
Well, a lot of times, like either movies I've directed or How I Met Your Mother, you think you're like doing great acting because it feels like this is great. You're like throwing a chair across, and then you watch it and you're like, that's grotesque.
Yeah.
And then something where you just weren't even, you were just listening, for instance.
Yeah.
And you find yourself like, wow, that's really watchable.
Well, that's the trickiest thing is listening.
Yeah.
Like when you watch yourself, you're able to. Like, I know when I do okay, and I'm better at watching myself, but do you find that when you judge yourself harshly and watching in the edit, that maybe you're the only one that notices?
Well, yes, of course you're going to be your hardest critic, but the greatest thing I did for myself as an actor was edit myself, to direct 2 movies that I was in, and you lose, I became really ruthless with myself, but not in a super judgmental way. At a certain point, it wasn't even like, oh, I look good or I look bad. I was just like, okay, I get what I look like.
Right.
You know, there was some sort of acceptance of like, that's what I look like.
Right.
That's what I don't like when I make that face. I'm never going to choose those takes. But you get really good at, I just found that I learned a lot about myself as an actor, and editing myself has been just as valuable for me as an actor as anything I've ever done.
But it's interesting. I've talked to a few actors, and not to disregard, anyone's who has a conversation is going to give me what they're going to give me. But it seems like you've got a lot of plate spinning for an actor.
Well, I think also
because you want to direct, you are a writer.
A couple people told me early on. They said you might not get everything you need from acting. Mm-hmm. Like I think there's a few people, like Philip Seymour Hoffman. To me,
I just watched it Flawless last night.
He had a career that was like so big, like he did everything. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a satisfying career. I mean, there's so few people that actually can kind of call their shots as an actor and actually do really meaningful creative work all the time.
Do you want to go to the depths that he went to?
No, not even, no. I mean, maybe once with the great director who's going to support me and hold my hand the whole way. But that's not, I work from joy, honestly. Like, I don't work from, when I'm depressed, I can't create.
But what if you were called upon? Because even in, like, I really liked Jill's movie.
Yeah.
And there was a turn in that character that you played's life where, his wife is starting to drift. And then when the reality comes, the struggle of accepting what she wants to do in order to sort of, save the marriage in a way.
Right.
That it was heavy because I've been married and you played that frustration, which was relatively dark.
Yeah.
When you
that stuff I like. I mean, I like complicated, interesting. Like I'm supposed to do this indie that is super dark and like I'm happy to do that. I just don't want to expose a vein all the time. Mm-hmm.
Do you have it to expose?
I think I do, but I need. I need to feel safe on some level, or that the space is held, and that I try to create that for actors when I do stuff.
So it's interesting. So when you do an indie film or stuff, like and they might have these expectations of you, there's sometimes a moment where you're like, I don't feel comfortable, doing that. You're right.
Well,
here.
Soloway, I mean, I'll do anything for her.
Sure. But like the idea of feeling safe or that someone's going to hold the space, takes some gravitas to do that.
I think so, but you also, the longer you do it, you become someone who can kind of bring that in. You bring your own. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you bring that with you, that permission.
Right.
You give yourself permission to do it or you don't, But I think if you're working on a project you believe in, you'll give yourself permission to kind of go there, so to speak.
Now, how do you feel like now, okay, so tonight's the final episode, everyone's going to get, do you think it's going to be a satisfying close for all the fans?
I think that it'll piss people off in the same way that everything pisses everyone off.
I was not pissed off at all with the end of Breaking Bad. I felt like I got closure. I let it go.
But just even subjecting yourself to the online landscape, it's like some people think How I Met Your Mother was brilliant for 4 seasons, then got terrible.
But there's also people that are just going to miss you.
I think maybe that's what they're saying. They get mad at you.
Why are you leaving?
Because they miss you.
Yeah.
And there has been a really deep emotional kind of outpouring of sadness over the show ending, which is, I think, a testament to us doing a good job.
No, absolutely.
You know?
And you had your own sadness, and now that you've done it, and I've got to assume you're okay financially for a little while, you're going to go right into to writing and directing and making
I think
a
so.
movie.
I mean, I have a couple of other things. I'm going to do a play this summer.
Where?
At New York Stage and Film up at Vassar, this Richard Greenberg play.
What kind of production is that?
It's just it's where they kind of workshop new plays outside of the eye of the New York critics, kind of thing.
So you're just going to go do a little acting,
yeah.
get back on stage.
I was, and that was one of the places I went. I was 19 years old. I was an acting apprentice.
So they
brought me back like every 6 or 7 years. It's really, I think they like to trot me out for the apprentices and be like, see,
yeah, he did all right.
You can do
Look
it.
at this kid.
You can do it.
Well, let's go back to that. So when you went to Tisch,
yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a real good one.
Yeah. Now, what was the program like there? I mean, because I can really feel that you seem to have your craft in place. I'm very impressed with with the tenor of your voice.
Oh, thanks.
But
my levels.
Yeah, but what what? How did you evolve? Who were some of the kind of life changing? Outside of the Martin Short quote and watching other actors or seeing the subtlety of Sally Field. Who would you consider a mentor early on?
So when I went to Vassar, I was 19. It was
this before
this was it was in between my sophomore and junior year at Kenyon.
Right.
So I went there for the summer. My father was actually revealed to me. He said, "Well, he's never acted outside of Ohio. He's going to get slaughtered by all these East Coast,
Isn't
geniuses."
it weird? Don't you feel on some level that there isn't a statute of limitations on what your parents can tell you about what was really going on?
Yeah, and it's constant. They reveal more things the older you get, and you're like,
crazy. God,
wow.
Eventually, you're like, was my whole life a lie?
Yeah. You had a really robust inner narrative going on about me that I had no idea.
Thank God.
You know,
you have the question is maybe they should just keep it to themselves.
Yeah. So but they do become more. They disclose more as the years go on. It's true. It's true. So I was there that summer, and they did 2 Shakespeare.
And your dad was
productions.
counting on you failing.
Exactly. In a way, yeah. He just thought he'll go to law school eventually.
For sure.
And I ended up getting Macbeth I ended up getting the lead of one of the Shakespeare productions. And I remember calling my parents on the payphone, and they were really stunned, and I don't think entirely happy, maybe. Right. uh-oh, this thing's continuing. But I had a great summer there, and I had one of the great things about being at Vassar, and one of the things I try to do, I go to the apprentices production, because I remember when there's a great actor, Peter Frechette. Do you know Peter Frechette? He was on 30-something. He's just an amazing stage actor. And Jane Kasmerick, who was on Malcolm in the Middle, not at that point. But they were two, I did running crew for a production they were in, and they were 2 people who came and saw me in these productions. And they both separately pulled me aside and said, "You're going to be an actor. You're going to do this." They said, "Not everyone here is going to do it, and you're going to do it." And to me, 19-year-old Ohio boy, to see 2 actors that I thought were amazing, I felt like I got a secret handshake, you know. And those are the kinds of things that you bottle up, you put them in the deepest place inside you to pull out on a rainy day. The days that are so dark, and you're like, why did I do this? I'm not talented. I'm not. And you remember, no, someone actually said you're going to do this, and until you can generate it yourself, you almost have to depend on those external sources.
Interesting.
And it was really a powerful summer for me, because I went back to Kenyon even more resolved about doing this professionally. It wasn't like a maybe. It was like, I'm doing this.
And it's also great to see actors who have had careers in film and in television, still going back to the stage and understanding, I think, as an adult, that it is a profession. Because I think when you're younger, you're sort of like, I'm just going to go be in a movie.
Right. Well, I also think there's a lot of, the feeling, because good acting makes it looks easy, and because it looks like life, a lot of people think they can do it.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, it's with comedy too.
Yeah. So I feel like, I really try to tell people, I was not discovered in a coffee shop. I went to school the way you go to law school or med school.
How long were the graduate program?
3 years.
So it's 7 altogether.
Round the clock. Yeah.
And then you come out here.
Well, I was in and around New York for a little while.
Doing what?
Doing
stage?
Theater.
Shitty,
no,
experimental?
good. I got my equity card at Manhattan Theater Club off Broadway, understudied, took over a role actually when the actor left. I did an Eric Bogosian play at Baltimore Center Stage.
Which one?
It's called Griller. It never came into New York.
But what's interesting about him, and what I imagine that you learn from somebody like him, is that he's a phenomenal talent, both as an actor and as a creator. But if you spend time with him, you're like, oh my God, he struggles with himself.
Oh my God, yeah.
And he's completely kind of at once insecure and confident.
But that's also, in some ways, that's a relief.
No, I know.
Because you don't want to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want my artistic heroes to just be like saints. I want them to feel real, and that's why you like them.
Yeah, I don't gravitate towards any saints.
Yeah.
I think mostly the opposite of saints.
Right.
That guy had a hard time. I like him.
Right. Share your struggles with me.
Well, so you work with Bogosian.
I work with Bogosian. I didn't work for 6 months. I auditioned for everything in New York, and then I went to Vassar.
Is that when you had the sort of like, what am I doing? Like, tell me about those times where you say you struggle and you have to hold on to these little tidbits of support.
Yeah, and one of the things I learned early on was like, I can't sit around with other grad school grads and complain about how hard it is to be an actor. Like, I found that it was such a cycle. It's like a fragile. Your psyche's so fragile as an artist.
Yeah.
That I didn't want to submerge myself in all that negativity
Because it'll beat you.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, it's not. People don't quit acting because acting's hard. They quit acting because not acting's hard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unemployment's tough. It's like. I said it's like a life of snow days.
Yeah.
You wake up and I was actually making enough to not have to do another job.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't have to do another job. So, and then I started writing because I had hours to fill.
Yeah.
I had days and days to fill.
Writing as opposed to waking up late, smoking weed,
Exactly.
hanging out with guys going, we're fucked.
Yeah. I tried that on for a while and I was like, this is not working.
No, well, that's good. That's that party that didn't want to be a terrible person.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because there's no way for you not to absorb, like, you can lock into that type of cynicism, to that sort of self-loathing.
We're really contagious as our psyche. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you have to be careful about what you're going to subject yourself to.
Yeah, and be big enough or at least self-aware enough to pull out of it. Because I was cynical and bitter and insecure for years.
Yeah,
and sometimes it takes some success to make that go away. Unfortunately.
Yes, I think that's right. I think that's right, or at least little tastes of it along the way.
That's right.
So yeah, and I had a couple little breaks. I got fired from my first pilot.
What was that one?
It was called Off Centers on the WB.
So you moved out here, but
I got my first pilot. You
had representation.
For. Yeah, I got my first pilot I auditioned for. We shot it.
Yeah.
I got fired. I got replaced.
That's rough.
And then
welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah. Then I went back to New York, did 2 plays, came back. I think I did a Law and Order. Then I got this Sally Field show that got canceled after 6 episodes, or 3 episodes they aired. We shot 6. Then I went back to New York and I got The Graduate on Broadway with Kathleen Turner and Alicia Silverstone.
How was that?
It was great. It was over 3 months. It was like the greatest summer theater gig ever. Like, I didn't have to get reviewed.
On Broadway?
Yeah, it was a big hit. I just jumped in. 2 weeks of rehearsal.
You replaced somebody?
I replaced Jason Biggs.
Jason
He
Biggs.
did a Woody Allen movie, so I got to take over while he was doing that, and then I came back out to L.A.,
Always on the stage, man.
Yeah.
You really got a foot in that.
Yeah, it's where I feel the most. It's where I feel like I know what I'm doing the most.
I think that's rare, in a sense that, like, a lot of movie actors, they can't do it. They can't do this. I'd love to. I know Cranston's. Did you go see him as LBJ?
I haven't been yet. No, but I hear it's great.
Is it? I just saw it. I didn't know about it, but I was in New York when you were there. What was it, last week?
Yeah.
And I saw the sign for it. I'm like, that'd be interesting.
That guy's a great actor.
I've talked to him in here, and you know what's amazing about him in terms of what we're talking about and sort of what you're talking about is just how, like, his work ethic, and he's got this sort of utilitarian kind of, like, it's my job.
Yeah. But the great ones are like that. They're like craftsmen. They just go from town to town. They do their job, and they don't get too crazy about it. And even if something's not great, they're like, this one wasn't great. You know what I mean? They can move on.
Right. And their whole life is not hinging on it.
No, I'm a little too precious about that. I actually admire that kind of thing because if I'm doing something,
a gig's a gig.
Yeah. If I'm doing something that I hate, it's like I can't enjoy my hours even when I'm not there because I'm like, oh God, I got to go back there.
Have you had a lot like that?
No. I've been thankful that I haven't.
All right. So you do the 3 pilots and the 3 shows, and they get.
Yeah.
So your 4th one was How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine you've gone through a whole evolution as a person while you stayed in this character.
I know. That's actually been really hard because it's like you're evolving so much faster than the character's evolving.
Right.
So you almost feel like this is going to sound kind of condescending, but you almost feel like I'm a PhD candidate and I'm doing the SATs or something,
right.
Where you have to go back.
Yeah.
And, But the character's great. I found the longer I played him, I felt distanced from him more, and he was more fun to play when I wasn't thinking he was some version of me.
Right. Right. I felt that too with the second season of the show.
But the problem was that if you play a role and you play it fairly successfully, and my independent films weren't like global box office sensations, so it's not like everyone saw me do other things.
Mm-hmm.
So you just get overly identified with a part, and then that becomes the challenge of the next phase of your career.
But yeah, also it's interesting because in the landscape we are in now, where it's a hit show, but it's a big media landscape. Yeah. I mean, that identification is going to be specific.
Yeah,
like there's going to be people that don't identify you with that at all. And just know that about you.
Right. I mean, I always try to remember, if 9 million people watch How I Met Your Mother a week, it's like, well, like 290 million Americans are not watching it. So it's like, I'm hearing from the people who watch it, but like, there's plenty of people that I'm just like a guy at the airport.
That's
or whatever.
Comforting, right?
And that actually is comforting. You know?
That you still have that.
Yeah, and I think it's always good to remember.
And you don't travel with an entourage?
No, not at all. Not at all.
You came over here alone.
I did. You can vouch for that. But now it's just a matter of how much can my restlessness, like how much time can I really take?
What would be a dream gig? I mean, outside of directing a movie, which you're going to do, and writing these things. But I mean, who would you like to work with? If you were to do a film, and who would, what director, do you want to do a Woody Allen movie? Do you want to work with like Martin Scorsese? Do you want to work?
I'm like a Richard Linklater fan.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to see that movie he shot over like a decade.
Yeah,
Did you hear about that movie, Boy?
No.
It was Ethan Hawke and I think Patricia Arquette and this kid.
Yeah.
And they started shooting when he was like 7 or 8. And they go through they shot 3 days
like that
every
documentary.
year. Yeah,
What's it called? Something
7 Up,
7 Up,
14 Up. Yeah. They shot for 3 days every year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this unbelievably innovative project. I mean, I just think I love what he's up to. I just think he's always worth.
That seems like something
out.
you could do.
To do that?
To talk to Richard Linklater and say, put me in a movie.
Maybe I will.
Well, I mean, you don't have to say it like that.
Maybe I will.
Maybe instead of having dinner with Martin Short.
I'm going to say, Martin, do you know Richard Linklater?
Yeah, can you give me his number? I think I met him once. You've never met him before?
I've been at places with him where I'm 2 feet away. Do I tap him on the shoulder and interrupt the conversation he's in kind of proximity?
Yeah.
And I've always chickened out.
Isn't that weird? Like here you are in like this massive hit show, with national recognition. You got chops, you're fucking solid, but there's still party that's like, I don't want to bother Richard Linklater.
Well, of course, but also like, I suspect he doesn't watch How I Met Your Mother.
No, but
although Quentin Tarantino does, it's his favorite show, which I thought was really interesting.
Did you get to meet him?
I haven't met him yet, but he's a big fan, and he is also a fan of Jill's movie, so he knows who I am.
Well, see, would you like to be in one of his?
I actually am a big Tarantino fan.
It's hard not to be, sort of mildly obsessed with what he does.
I think he makes great movies, like he just makes great movies.
Well, yeah, no one does what he does.
No.
And,
and I also generally don't like really violent things, but for some reason his violence, it doesn't bother me.
He's got an elevated sort of bizarre sense of humor and force to anything he does. Like there are some movies where it's like, I could maybe not like 20 minutes of it, but then there's another 20 that are like beyond anything I've ever seen before. But the method, the way of dialogue and the pacing of things, and sort of how erratic he can be is pretty astounding.
I also think his villains are so like archetypally bad.
Yeah.
So when they die, you find yourself cheering in almost like it's like a Greek play or something.
Yeah, yeah, and just like his editing, like if you watch, it's like Scorsese too. Like when I watched Wolf of Wall Street, I was so relieved that he had gotten his either he's going to do his thing, that sort of manic momentum with the layers of music, and it's so gratifying. The same with Tarantino. He's got a very unique fucking momentum. You just feel like, everything's loaded up.
You also kind of have that feeling that like he really knows what he's doing. So you can relax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like some films are a little bit like watching a waiter with like carry 10 plates.
And you're like,
they're not in total control of this.
Yeah.
And he just really knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing, and also he'll push the limits of it. Like, you know, he knows what he's doing, and he's obviously very efficient. Then all of a sudden he does something where like, what the fuck?
I know. So you're never ahead of it.
Nope,
and
never.
you just feel kind of.
That's a good thing.
I saw Django on Christmas Day with two of my friends. Like, you know, big cup of coffee. It's like 11 a.m.
Yeah,
perfect seats. And it was just, it was as pleasurable a time as I've had going to a movie in a really long time.
Oh, yeah, it's astounding.
Yeah.
Like, it's astounding how he can go in and out of sort of, like, it's all within his vision, but there are some things where like he'll do like 3 or 4 minutes in a movie where like that was stunning, that was like European.
I know.
You know?
I also think his film vocabulary is larger than anyone's.
That's where it is.
So he just is drawing on a limitless well.
He's not ashamed to do it. That's his style.
Yeah.
Is this amount? You know,
that's something I've had to do in the last couple of years. Is like give myself film school, because I'm a proper actor, and that's where my training is. So I think I have storytelling instincts from being inside of a lot of scripts and characters. But cinematically, I've had to really educate myself.
Well, how do you do that?
I get, like, I order a lot of Criterion Collection and really try to watch those movies and just fill in the blanks.
Like what, the Bicycle Thief?
Yeah, the Bicycle Thief.
Rome Open City.
I got that. I haven't watched it. Is that good?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I got all the, Louis Malle. Have you seen Murmur of the Heart?
No.
Oh my God, you gotta watch this Louis Malle movie.
Yeah?
It's nuts. It's kind of like Spanking the Monkey before Spanking the Monkey. It's like a mother-son.
Maybe
it's fantastic.
Maybe I did watch that,
That movie really has stayed with me.
What other ones, man? So you're going through like the
Yeah, I mean, I had such big gaps. I mean, I saw it a couple years ago, but I'm obsessed, and I've now watched it many times. The Apartment is one of my favorite movies. Unbelievable.
Great.
On the Waterfront, I haven't seen, which is so good.
It's crazy.
It's crazy good. And sometimes I go into these a little trepidatiously where I'm like, okay, this feels like homework.
Yeah.
But then on the Waterfront, you're just like, this movie works completely.
Yeah, and you can watch it again and again. That's the weird thing, because like on some of the airplanes, I don't remember if it's Virgin or whatever, where they have the classic collection of movies.
Yeah. I always watch those.
Right. So I haven't seen this in a while.
Yeah. I've got like a bunch kind of queued up that I need to
And
watch.
how do you study it? What do you think?
I mean, I just watch it and I try to kind of let it wash over me, and then I ask myself some questions like, why did that work? Mm-hmm. What was interesting about that? What kept my attention? What didn't keep my attention? Because, I think some things are, some of those movies are really, you watch some of those 70s movies, right, where you think, this must have been, at its time, like an explosion went off in the theater.
Right.
But you watch it now and everyone's built upon that.
Yeah.
So it seems like you can't understand the force when you're divorced from the time that it came on. I mean, when I grew up, it was like John Hughes era.
Yeah.
And I still think those movies
kind of
are
missed
great.
a lot.
I mean, The Breakfast Club I watched again. Have you not seen The Breakfast Club?
Sure I have.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen them.
Yeah.
And I've seen The Breakfast Club a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great movie when you're a teenager.
Yeah. Or like Spielberg was big, like loomed large, or
dude, like to watch like fucking. I just watched Jaws, part of it last night, and like Jaws, Close Encounters.
Yeah,
like I get hung up on the idea of why he used Francois Truffaut as this intermediary. To me, it was such a in my mind, I always assume that it's like some sort of kind of a multi-layered tip of the hat, because Truffaut is the guy that comes in with the technology to communicate through sight and sound
right
with the aliens, and he's got Truffaut, the guy who was part of the French New Wave, who defined the auteur theory, and there was a magazine called Sight and Sound out of France that sort of documented the original auteurs, and I'm like, Spielberg's so smart, that's why he put him in there.
Well, it's fun to kind of in-joke in movies.
Yeah.
I
don't know if that's real. I don't know if I'm
sure there's something. I mean, it's also cool that you can call up your heroes and say, do you want to spend a month with me in New Mexico where they filmed that,
Yeah. I think like he is, you can criticize him all you want, but like, what a fucking dude has got
he's a genius.
It's beyond anything I can even.
And one thing I learned from him, and I keep trying to remind myself, is like simple, like his images are just simple, but like so powerful. He doesn't overcomplicate things in a way. It's like he really just juxtaposes images that tell the story and get your heart racing or make you cry or whatever. Like, it's very simple, but he's masterful at it.
Well, it's interesting to see the guys that really set out to make box office smashes. Like he clearly wants to make big movies.
Right, but it doesn't feel at the expense of your intelligence.
No, not at all.
You know?
But then you look at like Scorsese, who was like, what the fuck where did that guy come from?
Right.
Where the fuck did Taxi Driver come from? Dude,
no.
when was the last time you watched fucking Goodfellas?
Oh, I have it. I actually watched about half of it
It's
kind of
great.
recently. Yeah.
I watch it like twice a year.
Yeah.
I watch the first 2 Godfathers every year.
Yeah.
Like the second Godfather. What is that? That's fucking. It's all in there.
Yeah.
Smart shit.
Those are not overrated movies, I think.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no. I just it's exciting to be excited about things. And,
Totally.
and
I agree with that.
And it's
better than thinking things are terrible and hating things.
being cynical.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like when I'm sort of like, this is great. You know, I love this.
I know.
And and something changed in my heart and mind where it's sort of like I try to look for the good things as opposed to like, you know, dismissing things.
Yeah.
Because like the weird thing about being cynical or ironically detached is that, you know, when you're sitting in front of something that someone spent, you know, millions of dollars and put all of their fucking heart and mind into it and really put it out there, it deserves more than like, I don't know.
100%. I mean, you know, when you actually start creating stuff, like really creating stuff that you're from the Kishkas, you know, like really, and then you naturally get a kind of hostile relationship to the marketplace and to critics because you feel like they're just like, next.
And then you're sort of like, what the fuck do you do? Your life is determined by what we do.
Exactly.
I mean, you're parasites.
Yes.
And, you know, all you're there for is to sort of fuel a market or serve your own voice.
Right.
And it's
there's a great thing I read about the true critic is more loyal to the artist than to his audience. Like that's who he's writing for and to in some ways. It's like a shared dialogue or a love letter between you and the artist. And older critics used to do that. I mean, I think
I appreciate a good critic.
Like Pauline Kael, they said, you know, I read something that said she was never better than when she passionately loved something. And nowadays, I feel like critics are their kind of rhetorical fireworks go off when they hate something and can take something down.
Well, the whole culture is based on provoking conflict or provoking controversy. That, you know, the media landscape has become so fragmented and competitive that they don't think that, you know, content is only that which has traction and conflict has traction and dumping on people has traction.
Yeah, and I also think that there's no. You know, because the marketplace is so fierce, there's no kind of apprenticeship or sense of allowing a talent to grow and incubate something.
And also,
you know?
like with a good critic, you can, you know, you learn things about yourself. Like, you know, you
learn things about what you created, 100%.
And
yes.
And if you trust a guy, even if it hits you hard, you're like, yeah, that's kind of right. Like I remember the New York Times wrote up my one man show, and I was so excited because the only New York Times review I really got. And he basically said it was good, but what, and it was something about dramatic structure. He said, I didn't see the character transform. That within the hour and 15 minutes or hour and a half of my journey on stage, that there was no third act in a way.
Right.
That how does he transform? And I wasn't even thinking about that.
Right.
And at first I was like, but at the very end, I kind of have an awakening. But was
that your open letter to the New York Times?
Yeah. Fuck you. I awakened. No, but transforming of character, that where does that character go?
Yeah.
Is sort of essential to the story in some ways.
Sure.
Even if he doesn't go anywhere or he goes, that should read as a transformation.
Yeah. I got a really lovely review from Roger Ebert on liberal arts, and it was, you know, towards the end of his life, and I had a draft of a letter I was writing him to thank him, and he died, and I've always been sad about that, but it was another one of those things that you hold on to and kind of keep, you know, because this guy Stephen Holden in the New York Times will not give it up for my movies on any level. I mean, he's just doesn't like me.
Yeah.
I think he's like, you stay in TV. He always compares my movies to sitcoms, which is like, dude, I'm on a sitcom.
Yeah.
Like that's so lazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But Roger Ebert wrote such lovely words about it, and you know, at its best, I think criticism can do what it can illuminate what you've done.
That's what it's supposed to do.
That's what it's supposed to do. I don't think it's supposed to be like,
this sucks.
I summarized it, and now you know, like Holden he gave away plot twists in liberal arts that are kind of like a sweet surprise. Yeah. Like stuff.
So he's being a dick.
I don't know. I've never met the guy. I don't know why.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. None of it matters. We're going to be dead in 100 years.
Well, but you know, even those reviews matter less and less as time goes on.
There's a great Winston Churchill quote where he says, few things in life are as exhilarating as to be shot at without result. And I kind of feel like criticism is a little like that. It's like the bullets are whizzing by.
Right.
And you're like, they didn't get me. I'm going to create something else. Screw you.
That's a good way to end. Thanks for talking, man.
It was good to be here.
I really think I could have talked to that guy for a long time. I think I did talk to him for a long time. I hope you enjoyed that. On Thursday, the amazing Lewis Black is here. And once again, a lot of things I didn't know about Lewis. And I'll be honest with you, we had a very candid conversation about everything that led up to his break. A lot of stuff I didn't know. It's a very unique interview with Lewis Black. So that's coming up on Thursday. I love you all. Go to WTFpod.com. I believe we're probably going to get rid of the comments. That's starting to feel like the thing to do. That, it's not really community there. It's randomly a place for people to express shitty things, and then a few people express some good things. But that's about the size of it. So I think that's going. So if you want to get your last licks in at the comments at WTF Pod, do that. As I said in the intro, get the app and upgrade the premium app for all the good stuff. And justcoffee.coop, always available at WTFpod.com. If you